journey.
Thank you for inviting me here, and pleasure to be a part of this panel. So Rajat, I basically started up this current business in 2017, and what we are currently doing, of course, to brief everyone, is we are a healthy snacking brand, and we have different options when it comes to healthy snacking based out of dry fruits and nuts. It was a typical journey. Till 10th class, I was studying in Bharatpur, and I basically did my 11th, 12th in Kota. Typical, wanted to get into JEE, did my 4 years of engineering in IIT Delhi, and I think my first, at least life-changing experience was within college, which kind of, when we interacted with a lot of alumni, there used to be a lot of sessions. There used to be a dedicated e-cell back at our college. And when we used to attend those sessions, it kind of somewhere hit me that, I need to do something bigger than, bigger than I would have thought otherwise before I had entered IIT. And that's when this entire, sort of bug of entrepreneurship kind of came into this. And soon after the college, the first job I took was with a startup only, so that I could basically learn and gather some of the basic know-hows of how to run a startup. I started my first business in 2015 by the name Delivery King. We used to provide last mile services to e-commerce companies. And when I was doing this, I of course had to quit my job that I was working. And my family did not support it, because I come from a family which is, completely, my dad used to work in Punjab National Bank, and nobody had done business ever. So they used to feel like that you already did your part of hard work while you were preparing for JEE. Now do you want to again quit your job and again do that hard work again? It does not make sense. Why do you want to do that? And of course, that kind of proved right when 9 months later, that startup shut down. I was under a debt of more than 20 lakhs. And I had no income source. So suddenly I was again all shattered. I didn't know what else to do. And to start up again was something, at least at that point of time, I could never think of. But thankfully, I think, that zeal of starting up again, that passion that, no, I want to do something, that always remained. So, and once you have that, I think all the other uncertainties, all the other trajectories can really be traversed, right? So once, I kind of started thinking, well, what are the 3 basic things that I need to know or need to do right so that this business that I start now really kind of is successful. And I'll come back to sharing those learnings, but very broadly, I think it was just one thing, which was that I need to be there in the business for a decent amount of time without worrying about my own finances. So I would take up a job if required. I would have certain savings so that in the next 3 years, even if I don't earn a penny, I am there. Right. And I knew that I have enough mind, I have enough logical reasoning that I will be able to take the business to its right shape if I'm just there in the business. So that is what I focused upon. Why this business? Because, in my childhood, I had seen my family business transition from selling just mustard oil seeds, which used to be our farms, at whatever 15-20 rupiah kg, to selling mustard oil, which used to be 65-70 rupiah liter, right? So even slightest form of value addition in the agri raw products could really increase the income of us as farmers. So what we believed is that, what I believed is that if I'm able to take this and scale this opportunity up, I would be able to probably reap benefits for hundreds and lakhs of farmers. So I wanted to take this opportunity up to multiple farmers, and that's how I started up with this current company. We are 2 co-founders, me and Abhishek. And in the initial days, our idea was simple, that we'll pick up very specific niche dry fruits. Our first product was makhana, the second product was raisin and things like that. We'll go to the farmers, we'll tell them what are the value additions that you need to do so that we are able to provide you better pricing than the mandi pricing. Right. And that's how a lot of farmers associated with us in the early stage. And since then, of course, the business has traversed, but that's how really this entire idea came into being.
Right. Coming to you, Rajat, you are doing your business out of Dehradun. You belong from a small village in Muzaffarnagar. Then you went to Shark Tank, sealed a deal of 1 crore for 6% equity in season 1. And you are having a portable ECG, which is your popular product. So I just want to know about your story.
So the journey starts from a small village. There was no clue about what a startup is and what I'm going to do in my life. So finished my 12th, and then because of somebody said engineering kar lo, bahut scope hai. That's how actually I landed into engineering. And I actually took civil for the first year. But this is where my journey started. I started knowing about the opportunities. What can I actually do? What can I explore? And then I switched my engineering to mechanical. That's from the entire passion journey started. I was building Formula student cars. So while I was doing this, by the end of engineering, I lost somebody from my batch. He was just 21 to a heart attack. And that's when I realized that, we as an engineers, how do we react when somebody is having a heart attack in front of us? Or, how much awareness do we have? And when I deep dived, I realized that heart attack kills almost 1/4 of the, they're the responsible for the 1/4 of the total deaths happening in the world. And more than 2 million people die just in India. And we are not doing anything about it. Even, COVID took more lives than, heart attack took more lives than COVID. So we thought, why can't we use our smartphone, which is much more powerful than that chip, even which made human landing possible on the moon. So that was the basic ideology. And we thought, let's try to convert a smartphone into a life-saving tool. And again, the biggest challenge was we were sitting in Dehradun. And we happened to be the first registered startup of Dehradun. Our registration number also says 001. So there was no ecosystem available. And accidentally, because we wanted to solve this particular problem, that's why we started this. It was not a preconceived idea that we are doing this startup for make money or something like that. So all of the challenges we have started against for first generation entrepreneurs, never went to the corporate, started straight out of the college, no financial background. Even all of us were probably having the financial loans for the educations on that. But what we realized that when we started pursuing this, the original inventor of the electrocardiography machine, which is still the mainstream technology today for the cardiac diagnosis or the heart abnormality detection, got the Nobel Prize for it. And the machines which we see in the hospital boundaries, these machines have not crossed the hospital boundaries in in the entire century. Those machines are almost 2 decades, 3 decades old. And most of the events which happens out of the hospital. So the idea started like that, and we wanted to build for Bharat, for rural. When we built the product, we realized that this is just not just rural India. The entire globe need this solution desperately, and that's how we followed up. We bootstrapped for 5 years before actually COVID happened. COVID changed the entire shape. People started realizing that healthcare could be decentralized. And then Shark Tank, did the rest of the job.
Yeah, I'm just coming to that. So since you launched in 2016, you went to Shark Tank in 2022. Do you feel that Shark Tank was a game changer and a turnaround point for your business?
Definitely. I mean, we were building inside a silo. Nobody would know that what exactly we do. And the question comes on the credibility. Most of the people, when we went to a doctor said, throw it into the dustbin. I mean, it just looked like an engineering project. I don't know how much medical value it carries. Going forward, Shark Tank did 2 jobs for us. First, did that awareness among the people that, something like this exists. We became popular overnight. But, though it was a 7 years journey behind the curtain, which nobody knows, but, the Shark Tank actually brought it to the people and people who could relate with it. We are into that kind of a market where people say, Kash, ye mere paas pehle hota. All of us must have heard people losing to heart attacks around us. And, we simply think, Kash, aisa kuch mere paas pehle hota tha, I could have prevented this damage. I could have prevented this event. Shark Tank did that job for us, and everybody started, just jumping on us. We didn't have the capacity. We were not ready for that kind of, response, the massive response which we got. And we spent rest of the 6 months after the Shark Tank actually just to fulfill that demand which got generated during those 20 minutes.
And I was reading somewhere that you mentioned that just after Shark Tank, there was a jump in the queries regarding your business, like the 4x jump in your queries. If you compare it, like 3 years have gone by ever since you went to the Shark Tank. What is the jump in your business in quantitative terms, if you can tell us?
So, during that 20 minutes of Shark Tank, we got 5x of the revenue, of the entire annual revenue, which we used to do before that. And most of the time, what happens with the Shark Tank startup, there is a peak during when the show goes here, and then it comes down. In our case, what was more fascinating to learn that even if we had only one SKU, our peak stayed. I mean, we were able to maintain that peak, for a long time till we actually developed the rest of the product and the ecosystem around it. So usually in the medical device sector, it's almost a decade journey before your product build that clinical advocacy, where people start trusting it, looking at it, and believe it. Okay, if I use this device, this is not going to harm me, and this is going to help me. So that's what we have been doing now, and we have scaled almost 7 to 10x since then, and now we are all set to go for the enterprises and the international market as well.
Right. Coming to you, Amit, once again. So we know that last year you had a revenue of 500 crores, right? And you have the target of taking it to 1,000 crores in the next 3 years. Also, one aspect that you are one of the top players in the makhana snacking, and we know the makhana is the flavor of the season. The government is talking about, recently Prime Minister made a comment about makhana. So what potential do you see in makhana industry going forward, and how are you going to achieve that 1,000 crores in the next 3 years?
So just a correction. So we didn't achieve 500 CR last year. Last year for us was around 200 CR. This year we are basically at around 500 CR of run rate. But coming back to the point, so yes, the growth has been phenomenal. So there are 3-4 macro scenarios which are happening, right? So one is that the entire consumption story in the country is now driven by the millennials and the Gen Zs, right? They are moving to household makers, making the people who are making decisions in the households rather than just being the consumers themselves. And when it comes to Gen Zs and millennials making decisions, they look at multiple things. They look at how the labels read, what are the ingredients, how is the brand affinity, what does the brand stand for, what is the sustainability angle at the brand. So it is not just a decision making that what is available at the nearest kirana store, which used to be probably certain generations back, is now no longer a decision pointer. So that is one. The second thing which is happening is that the entire thesis of healthy snacking is rising very rapidly. So what used to be okay certain years back, probably just before COVID, right? People used to have a 4 p.m. snack in which someone could consume samosa, someone could consume bhujia, someone could consume certain fried snacks, etc. is now no longer okay. People are proactively looking for healthier snacking options because there are certain pockets in the entire day. So you have your breakfast, there's your lunch, there's your dinner. But there are multiple pockets, specifically when you are working or when you are traveling, where you don't have access to a completely wholesome meal, where you are looking for some snacking option, and there is most of the people make mistakes there, right? In terms of eating something which is not probably as healthy as one would have consumed probably in the breakfast, lunch and dinner. So that space is rising very rapidly. So the entire size of the healthy snacking industry has probably tripled or quadrupled just in the past couple of years. So that's how fast the industry is evolving. And third is that specific ingredients. So at least for us at Farmley, we are focused on dry fruits and nuts, right? So it is a very given in the nature that these are healthy ingredients. We don't have to go to the consumers and prove them a point that eating almonds is healthy or eating makhanas is healthy, right? And last but not the least, of course, makhana has its own trajectory. So it is replacing a lot of fried stacking or the traditional bhujia options default, and not that it is happening even like the Prime Minister said, right, that he consumes out of 365 days, 300 days he consumes makhanas. So it is not something which is happening today. It had always been there. But probably what has changed today is that people are looking for more conveniently accessible options. So today, the rise of this entire flavored makhana industry, right? Probably few years back, people would have said, I'll take raw makhanas, my mom will roast it in ghee and I'll consume it. But today not. Today people want those accessible packs, which are tasty also in nature, which are accessible to carry also. And that industry in itself, just the flavored makhana industry, is today almost 1,000 crore industry. And it has risen that rapidly in just the past couple of years. So all these 4 points combined, what that it has done is, it has contributed to a very rapidly expanding market of healthy snacking, with only a very few pockets of competition, players kind of existing, and a very large vacuum for a lot of existing brands to expand and for a lot of new brands also to kind of come. And thirdly, for a lot of innovation to come into picture. So a lot of our products, for example, they're not just dry fruits and nuts. They are products that we have done at least 4 or 5 years of research and development upon, which have proven the fact that they're tasty. And of course, health is a given element, and then we basically take them to the market. So because what happens is, if your product in healthy snacking is not tasty, nobody is going to consume it. You can have your product with 100% clean label, a very good amount of every nutrition, but if nobody consumes it, it is useless, right? So the product has to be tasty. So making a healthy product tasty is I think one thing that we have been able to kind of crack, and that is something which has been able to drive our success, so-called, if I can say that. And all the flagship hero products that we have date bites, we have flavored makhanas, we have punch meva, we have munchies, etc. They all are such products which are very innovative in their nature, in terms of seasoning, in terms of the format, in terms of the packaging, etc. And yet they are able to, kind of be at accessible price point for the end consumers.
Right. Rajat, when you set out, and now I think 9 years of establishing a startup, what is the biggest challenge that you face? We know in the last 1 year or so, the fundings have also plummeted to some extent. What is the biggest challenge that you face as an entrepreneur? First generation entrepreneur. And also one question, that you operate out of Dehradun, which is quite unconventional. So do you have pressure from investors to relocate to Mumbai or Delhi or like some hubs like these?
Yeah, so initially when we were starting, there was a huge, notion in the investors that, hey, if you're building something into this deep tech, which is oftenly called graveyard industry, medical devices, are treated like that in India because of its long, R&D period before you enter the market. But we realized that, if we want to survive, I think that is the small place which is going to help in our journey. And now when we, started doing something significant in this sector, now everybody, says, oh, okay, we don't have any problem where you operate out of. Because we used to place it like, if we are building a global brand. So even, Delhi is remote for the globe, right? It's not just the Dehradun, right? So that's how it happened. The second part is when you ask about the challenges. I think, as I mentioned, we started against all the odds. So it's tough for me to evaluate and compare which one is the larger challenge. We had to bootstrap for early 5 years. So access to the capital was a challenge that time, because it was a tough fact for somebody to believe that we staying in a small place without a subject matter expertise, without even going to a large MNC or, getting that kind of experience, we are able to build something like that. And in the medical devices, it's more of a import dependent market. Most of the players which you see in India are mostly the white label products only. So everybody thinks like that. Then even starting from team building, in a remote place where there is no culture of a startup, there is no ecosystem existing. We were the ones who were actually setting up that benchmark. Yes, there is a startup possible, in that small city as well. Then even going forward today, scaling up the team, scaling up the factory, scaling up the market access, educating the patient. So if you ask me today's challenge, the biggest challenge is the category creation, because we have not seen something like this before. Though we know something like this is required, we are in the same phase where we used to see blood pressure monitors and blood glucose monitors almost a decade and a half ago, right? So it has to go through the medical advocacy. People have to, use it at the right time when they need it the most, rather than regretting later. So that's what we are actually trying to create in this category.
Also, you're navigating a very complex ecosystem, healthcare, where you have to prove the efficacy of the product that you're developing through trials. You have to get licenses. How did you manage to tackle that?
So it was the market who educated us. To be very honest, we didn't know that this needs so many, complex regulations and trials and everything. So the idea was, when we built the product, we thought, the product is ready, now it can go to the market. But when we went to the first set of customers, like the doctors and everything, they started asking, do you have this? Do you have this? Do you have this? And, we were being exposed to those questions for the very first time. And that's how we learned everything in this journey. I mean, it is the market and the customer who educated us about everything. We didn't know anything before. Even today, we have learned, very little part of the entire journey. And, when we went to the banker, they said, hey, you need these 3 documents. So now the journey started, go chase those 3 documents. When we went to those guys, they said, before applying to these, you need this set of, trials done. Now the question was, who will do the trials in Dehradun? I mean, there is no, obviously, research happening, no trials happening. But the great part of it, if we look from the other side, was because there was nothing happening, there were people who were keen to explore such opportunities. And those gentlemen became our, support system to give us access to those facilities. Almost every hospital around, Dehradun, capital, and Uttarakhand helps us in our trials today. We published 35 international journals. It's more of I think more than 40,000 patients we covered during the trials. And then, going forward, when we started selling it, on a larger channels, like the e-commerce we started with. So e-commerce was not something which is where medical devices were going for market access. GTM was not happening on the e-commerce. We started doing that. They asked, you need this CDSU license. Another challenge in our journey was the regulations were also coming up during that time only. So in 2018, when we wanted to launch the first, product, there was no regulations, and it was an exempted category. There was no regulation existing for it. But in another year down the line, they got a whole list of regulations that this is a regulated product. You have to do safety, performance, clinical trial, and the factory audit, the factory, international standards, everything you have to do. So the market was also becoming mature, the regulations were becoming mature, and so that's how it was going hand in hand.
Right. Coming to you, Akash, what are the challenges you faced? Because you came from a background in IIT Delhi where the entrepreneurial ecosystem was well developed. You have a well-established network of alumni to help you out. What were the challenges in your way?
So I think the network can only help you till a certain extent. Maybe when it comes to things like fundraising, things like getting the right strategy, things like getting connected to the right customers, etc., that is where your network kind of helps you. But when it comes to running the business, when it comes to making the product, etc., all those things kind of still remain to you, right? So probably top 4 challenges that we came across as we steered across our journey, and these are very, specific to our business case. But one is, when we started as a B2B business. So we realized very soon into the journey that running a B2B business is very difficult because it has very specific set of, margins, and the business cannot grow beyond a certain point. We will not be able to make make certain margins over and above what we are currently making, or scale the business up. So that was one. So we had to, we have done at least 5 to 6 pivots since the start of the business. We started as a B2B business, as a one-stop supply, and today we are a healthy snacking brand. So making and ensuring that, the right market feedback is taken, and with that right market feedback, we are able to pivot the business to what the requirement is as of date. That is a very key challenge and an opportunity. I think one of the key factors for any startup, like when we were starting, you said, right, 90% startups fail across probably just a couple of years. One of the key reasons is the inability to pivot, I would say. So we have to be very flexibly inflexible is what I say. So you have to be flexible enough to pivot, but inflexible enough to realize where you need to take a stand and ensure, know that I just will give this 3 more months or 3 more years and I know this will work. And where this comes from is really your gut feeling, your intuition and how strongly attached you are to the business that you're building. So that is one. Second, of course, is when this entire COVID happened, when all these things, kind of this entire transition was happening, we have a lot of dependence on running brick and mortar infrastructure. We have our own processing units and a lot of those things are there. So we faced a lot of difficulties during those times and we were very close to almost giving up. But at that point of time, just ensuring that we are able to outsource certain things that we are not able to probably do in-house at that point of time during COVID, etc. Doing those, some bit of things kind of helped us. Third bit, which is today, is I think customer education, which is there. And I was listening to Virat sir also when he was speaking that there are a lot of things today which happen, which the traditional FMCG companies, without naming, have been kind of serving to the Indian customers, which have a lot of preservatives, which have a lot of n number of other things, but they have a solid distribution. They are present across multiple lakhs, if not crores, outlets in the country today. And they are able to sell those products. So as a startup, we cannot reach to those multiple kirana outlets. We are still probably very restricted to certain digital channels and certain maybe offline stores that we are currently selling into. So for us, even if we make a good product, there is a lot of millions that have to get pumped into advertisement for the for us to reach, for the brand to reach the customer, and then for the brand to educate the customer that why what we are giving is better and why what you have been consuming till now, which you have been probably relying upon your nearby kirana store and very confident about it, is actually not correct, because you are fundamentally questioning somebody's hypothesis that I have been eating well my entire life, right? So education and the distribution is, I think, today the biggest challenge for us as a company. That if we're able to get our products to the right set of customers, that is one. Second, that right set of customers need to realize that we are the right set of products that are meant for them. We have done 5 years of research and development. We are the most incentivized today to bring the right set of products to you, because we have everything to lose. If we don't do that, we probably will not kind of remain there. So I think these are certain challenges and opportunities. I think both go hand in hand.
Right. And also, I would like to take this opportunity to ask you, since you are one of the leading players as far as makhana industry is concerned, Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman in the budget made an announcement of establishing makhana board in Bihar. And we also know that 90% of makhana is alone cultivated in Bihar. Do you feel that makhana is going to be the key game changer as far as Bihar's economic development is concerned? That's one. And second, how much changes this makhana board is going to bring in as far as your industry is going to concern?
So 100%, I think makhana is going to be a game changer for the Bihar economy, and it has already been on those lines for a couple of years now. So when we were starting off, just broad numbers, makhana was around a $150 million sort of an industry, which is today almost $1 billion industry. And this has happened, mind you, in just a matter of 5, 6, 7 years, right? So this is how fast the economy is growing. And there are multiple brands which are there just like us. And not just domestic consumption. So while the domestic consumption has been increasing, there has been a lot of global demand which is getting generated. So we ourselves, for example, export to a lot of countries like US, Canada, Australia, Singapore, etc. And there also we see a lot of demand kind of getting generated, because what is happening is when people are replacing certain things, they are looking for certain good alternatives. And when it comes to alternatives, makhana probably ticks marks 99% of the tick marks which anybody would want to have. They are tasty, they have the right nutrition, they are accessible, they are at that price point, everything is there. So nothing is stopping makhana industry from growing. And when it comes to the board being kind of developed, I think the board has a lot of, that will of course help the industry grow. There are a lot of things also which need to be done for this kind of pace to continue. One very most important thing is that while the demand has grown, the supplies have not been able to grow proportionately, and not on the farming side. The farming has probably grown. So makhana is grown as a lotus seed and then it is basically popped into makhana. So while the growth of makhana seeds has been there, the popping process, which basically kind of brings seeds, makhana from seeds, that is still limited to a very specific handful of people, and that is completely still manual. So there's a lot of work being done, even by us, even by private companies, and of course the board will of course do that. So if that is able to happen, I think then what growth we are expecting today, even that is limited. That can probably be multiple X than that.
Right. Rajat, we all know what happens on screen at Shark Tank. I just want to know from you what happens behind the screen. And since you have sealed the 1 crore equity from the sharks, how have been your relation with the sharks now?
Okay, so the problem with the small town startups, I would say, is that we really don't think big at all. When we were starting, the only dream we had was कि your story उस time पे बहुत popular था कि एक बार your story पे आना है और कभी हम भी तो $1 million company बनेंगे. So dream सिर्फ यहाँ पे खत्म हो जा रहा था. So because what matters here is कि जहाँ से हम लोग start कर रहे थे वो बहुत आपको आपके सोचने की कैपेसिटी को वो लिमिट कर देता है. So when Shark Tank advertisement came, so we were like, let's apply, hota thodi ही है. And we applied for it. My co-founder didn't know about it. Then we got a call from them that you are invited for the second round and you do share these information, etc., etc. We again uploaded the information thinking hota thodi ही है. And then we went to the audition round. It happened. They called us eventually, to the final round. What you see on the Shark Tank is all real. Just you prepare those 3 minutes, which is actually the main pitch. So as a founder, wherever we pitch to the investors, we all prepare it. They ask you a lot of questions. My entire pitch went for almost 2.5 hours. And they asked so many questions. But ultimately, what you see on the screen, that 15-20 minute, the entire episode, is actually a fraction of the entire story, what you see. Rest, everything is real. The second thing is the shark also, kind of do validation. When, you claim as a founder, as a company that this is the best product we have created in the world. And when you go on air, ultimately, especially when you are, a D2C product, if you don't get that kind of a response from the customer, that's the biggest validation which they also see. If you really get that response, so then you have their heart. For us, especially Namita, Piyush have been super active. I mean, to launch our product last year, Namita came all the way from Pune to Dehradun because we wanted to set that benchmark that yes, product launch can happen in Dehradun also rather than being in the large metro city. We wanted to set that story up and it went very well. And they opened a lot of doors for us, very, very accessible, frequently meeting us. May not be in the case of every startup, but if they really love it, then you go for it.
Due to paucity of time, last question to you, Amit. What is the one piece of advice you would like to give to the budding entrepreneurs or the students or the youngsters who would like to start from a humble cities like Bharatpur and Muzaffarnagar?
So I think you just have to stick around and be there for the longer run. So starting a business is a long-term game. It's not a small, short-term game. So if you're there, good with your 100% commitment and with the thought that there is no backup option. See, what happens with most of the entrepreneurs whom I have met is that they always have certain backup option in mind. So if there's no backup option, you have to make this successful. There is no other way about it. And second, I think is most important, having the right mentor for your business. So just like in life, you have gurus. I think in a business, you need to have a mentor who can guide you. And those mentors can keep changing over a period of time. But having the right mentor and having the right mindset, I think everything else will get done.
Rajat?
So adding to these two most valuable advices, like consistency is the key. Actually, that's what he mentioned. The only piece which I feel after going through the journey, the first is like this is your own journey and it's a process you have to go through it. Your journey and my journey is always different. What works for me may not work for you, and vice versa. And the last is हो जाता है अगर आप करके देखो. मैंने करके देखा है, हो गया है. So you should also try, at least go for it. Then you will realize that what works, what doesn't.
Thank you, Amit, Akash, and thank you, Rajat, for sparing time out consistency and having a right mental framework is the key for establishing your business. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Rajat. Thank you so much. Our startup pioneers, Akash Sharma Rajat Jain. A big round of applause, and I request Rajat to please felicitate our startup pioneers as they've shared some really interesting insights from their career, from their journey. Truly motivated a lot of youngsters out here. Thank you so much, gentlemen. All right, now what a day it has been, from Manushi's journey to Shahzad's vision, Viraj's story, Trinetra's insights, perspective.
साथियों, जिस दशक में हम अभी हैं, मैं समझता हूं वो आजाद भारत का अब तक का सबसे इम्पोर्टेंट डेकेड है, और इसलिए ही